Sorry about the weird format, they just kicked us out of the media room, but I just finished watching the Sony E3 2017 press conference, and overall, I would say it was a bit underwhelming. By the time it was over, I was kind of left wondering, wait, that's it? It's actually over? That's all they had to show? And they actually showed a lot, weirdly enough, but I think it was more the pacing and the way games were presented in what order. Something about that felt off. But anyway, let's talk about each game individually, and I'll give you my personal thoughts and impressions. And by the way, I'm not just disappointed because Death Stranding wasn't shown at the event. That much I was expecting. Kojima said as much. So, you know, I'm glad, because that means Kojima can work more on the game. But anyway, so Uncharted Lost Legacy, that's how it began, and the game looks phenomenal. Obviously, it's Uncharted, and more Uncharted is always good. They showed off a trailer, and I don't know what else there is to say other than the game's gonna be fantastic because it's Naughty Dog and they make phenomenal games. No Last of Us Part 2. That I was very surprised about. I was sure we were gonna get at least another trailer or even some gameplay, but no, I thought that was gonna be the closer. So I'm kind of shocked, but you know, whatever. Naughty Dog can take as much time as they need to take until the game's ready to be shown. So it's disappointing, but I'm not mad or anything. Moving on, Days Gone, zombie game. It's a game that it's like an open world zombie game that looks compelling, but I'm personally not too invested in it. It looks alright though. Like the hordes of zombies look impressive, but it also looks like a Last of Us version of a zombie type of genre. Now, one thing that threw me off about the Days Gone gameplay demo was the people hanging from the ceiling. They had like little snow effects and stuff, like that was cool. But actually hanging real people from the ceiling and having them do all these weird crazy shit while the video is playing, it seems a little too much, like unnecessary and dangerous and kind of creepy, to be honest. Not a big fan of that one. Moving on. Monster Hunter World, that was surprising, and that looks fantastic. For those who are fans of the Monster Hunter franchise, you will be very pleased. The last iteration came out for the 3DS, which is being re-released for Switch. And Monster Hunter World is for PS4. The graphics look fantastic. It's the prettiest Monster Hunter game by far. The gameplay mechanics look amazing. The dinosaur, the way he was animated, and he really felt alive, that giant beast. And the grappling hook is a nice addition. It looks like a true evolution of Monster Hunter, which I'm really happy about. And for another big surprise, Shadow of Colossus remake. Holy shit, that game looks freaking gorgeous. I played the PlayStation 3 version, I believe, or is it the PS4 version? Like, there's an HD remake, I forget which console it is for, but it is pretty much the PS2 version enhanced. This is a full-on remake, it seems, and I didn't actually get a chance to finish the original version, so this right here is very compelling to me. It is just gorgeous and probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite thing for me for Sony's press conference. Moving on, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Cool stuff. Love Rocket interacting with Dante and just all these incredible characters, Mega Man and Zero, and all of these fan favorites coming together in this amazing fighting game. Not much else to it than that, though. Next up, Call of Duty World War II received a brand new trailer. And it's funny to see Call of Duty so heavily invested in PlayStation, whereas before it used to be such an Xbox franchise. But this is probably the Call of Duty that I've been most interested in a very long time. And it's funny because it's going back to an old kind of genre, which is World War II. But seeing World War II realized with all this incredible graphical fidelity is actually exciting. It looks like Call of Duty is finally getting a facelift in terms of graphics, whereas before I felt like they kept reusing the same engine. This one actually looks almost like a completely new engine. I don't know if it is, but there's genuine just improvements, and it actually looks next gen, and I'm excited, so we'll see how that works out. Sony then moved on to VR stuff. They had a whole segment for that, and they basically showed trailer after trailer, starting with Skyrim VR, which really surprised me. It looks alright. I feel like games of that magnitude just can't work very well with VR because it wasn't built from the ground up for VR, but I'm excited to try it out. Maybe it'll play better than I'm expecting it to. It's an exciting announcement though, regardless. So we got Fallout 4 VR and Skyrim VR. not a bad proposition. We'll see how it plays. I'm excited to hopefully get my hands on it if it's going to be at the show floor. Next up, we got Star Child, which looks like a cool little, like an indie game of sorts. I'm not sure who is developing the game, but cool little concept. Not terribly excited about though. The Impatient looked pretty bizarre. It's a VR experience that's more, I think, story-driven, and it's horror-esque in nature and a lot of mystery, it seems. I think that's well-suited for VR. Final Fantasy 15 Monster of the Deep. It's a fishing game for VR for Final Fantasy 15. That feels like a cash grab. I don't know if it's going to be a free update or if it's actually going to cost money. I hope it's free because it doesn't seem like it'll be worth much in terms of replayability. Unless you really love fishing and you really love the Final Fantasy world, mesh those two together and you got Final Fantasy 15 Monster of the Deep. Definitely one of the weirder showcases, but it is what it is. Next up, Bravo Team, VR first-person shooter, look generic, military. I'm sure it could be fun, but just generic VR first-person shooter. I guess you need one of those in every VR platform. And finally, Moss. That actually looked kind of interesting. It was like a platformer action-adventure. You control a mouse, or the mouse controls itself and you manipulate the environment. I couldn't really tell much. Nothing mind-blowing, nothing that would make me want to get VR or anything, but it's good to have additional games for the platform. After VR, they moved on to the big guns, starting with God of War. That game looks freaking gorgeous. The way I like to call this game is The Last of Gods because, again, remember when I first started talking about how everything's starting to look like Last of Us on the PlayStation side of things? I feel like this is one of those games where, obviously it's not a just copy of Last of Us, but you've got, you know, the main character and the younger partner, and you're working together protecting this individual. And it just feels like God of War got a Last of Us treatment with Norse mythology mixed in, which is cool. I like that it's different. I like that it's not just Kratos going out there to kill everything. This time it seems like he's protecting something, and it's a very interesting shift in dynamic. Also, probably killing everything along the way, but that added layer could serve to make for a more personal and just maybe even a better story than those of the previous games. Then we have Detroit Become Human. The game looks great. I love cyberpunk, and this is a cyberpunk adventure game. But the catch is that it's made by David Cage, who I just don't trust as a writer. I think he has phenomenal ideas, but lacks in execution, and this has happened time and again, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, but the game looked very interactive. I love the idea of the choices literally paving the way for incredibly different outcomes. The question is, of course, can David Cage deliver on that and also deliver a story that's compelling? I feel like he just needs to kind of bring it down a few notches in his execution, and if he actually makes this about just what cyberpunk is about, really, which is the high-tech, low-life, stories of the people trying to survive in this harsh world, and the idea of, you know, androids and AI and what it means to be human. If he can focus on that instead of crazy plot twists and bizarre plot elements, we could have gold here. But this is one of those games that I'm a little iffy about because of the name David Cage. Next up, we have Destiny 2, which, you know, I'm not really interested in it. I was disappointed by Destiny 1, and if you loved Destiny 1, I think you'll love Destiny 2 because it's more of the same but refined, but I don't think it makes enough of a leap for me to be excited about Destiny 2 if I wasn't pleased by Destiny 1. In that regard, I think Anthem is a game that I'm more compelled about, but again, it's another case of can they deliver on that promise, which I talked about in a previous video, but cool Destiny 2 trailer, but not interested in the game personally. Last but not least, Sony unveiled gameplay of Insomniac's Spider-Man game, which looks absolutely phenomenal, although it does seem to borrow a lot from the Arkham games, like a lot. It could straight up be developed by the same guys, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because the Arkham games were phenomenal, so drawing from that is not a bad idea. But the game looks authentic, gorgeous, just actually one of the most, no, the most polished looking Spider-Man game. The Spider-Man game with the biggest scope of ambition, and just, it actually feels like you'll feel like Spider-Man. It actually looks empowering to play. My one big complaint, though, is that there were way too many QuickTime events. I hope this game isn't too scripted. I hope I actually get to do the web shooting and decide how I want to do it instead of me just pressing a button and then having Spider-Man do everything for me. I want to have some semblance of control over how I use Spider-Man's power. Other than that, though, this is one of my most anticipated games, so what a fantastic showcase. And that's it. That's where it ended. That's how Sony concluded their E3 2017 press conference, and again, they showcased so many great things, but I was surprised when it was over, because it just seemed weird to end with Spider-Man. I don't know, I thought they had one more thing to show. Last of Us Part 2, or something along those lines, but they didn't, and you know, you gotta go off with a bang, but instead at the end, my heart just kind of sank and I felt disappointed. Something else that I felt that the Sony conference lacked was, like, people, which is weird to say. I usually don't like people coming on stage and giving a whole PR talk, but I feel like Sony knew how to do that right, where they brought some people on stage and it was exciting, they said something very brief, and then they showed the game. This time it was just like, I like the idea of just games after game after game after game, but this time it was just like, it almost felt like the live conference format was unnecessary. It almost felt like they could have just streamed this whole thing, just the sequence of trailers, just streamed it online without the pizzazz of a live conference. Maybe that's just me though. But anyway, that pretty much rounds up my thoughts on the PlayStation E3 2017 press conference. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my opinions, or if you think Sony did really great and you were satisfied with what they had to offer. Also, if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon so we can remain independent from third-party sponsorship and corporate interference. With that, I will see you guys next time. Yong out!